So next we're going to talk about multiplying complex numbers. So before we multiply complex numbers, it's very important to remember this stuff about complex numbers. Of course, you know, is A plus or minus BI. So A is always the real part and B is the imaginary part. So it's attached to I. Very important to remember too, this stuff. Definitely the second part. The first part, I is equal to the square root of negative 1. That's the main reason why we write I versus writing the square root of negative 1. And that was part of one of the questions on your classwork assignment for adding, subtracting complex numbers. But this is very important today. So we're going to use this a lot when we're multiplying complex numbers. So our very first example for multiplying complex numbers, which is example 3 for today. So let's simplify this. I have 8i times 6i. So just because there's i's in there, treat it the same way if you were saying 2x times 3x. So first, multiply your numbers. 8 times 6 is actually 48. And then I times I is, of course, I squared. The thing is, I can't keep it like this. If you try to type this into Math Excel for school, it may tell you you're correct, but you're not correct because it's the equivalent of the correct answer, kind of, sort of. Because you always have to simplify. So instead of writing I squared, I replace it with what it's equal to, which we know that I squared is equal to negative 1. So instead, I write it as 48 times negative 1. And 48 times negative 1 is actually negative 48. So negative 48 is my answer. So that's all we have to do for this problem. So let's go ahead and do another one. So our second one for multiplying is 5i times 1 plus 7i. So this one, a little bit different from example 1, but the same process. The difference is before it was just one thing times one thing. Remember, one monomial times one monomial. Mono means 1. This one is a monomial times a binomial because this has 2 terms that has 1. So anytime it happens like this, of course, you definitely want to distribute that. So I'm going to distribute 5i times 1 and then 5i times 7i. So first it is 5i times 1, which is just 5i. And then plus, we have 5i times 7i. Which 5 times 7, 35. And I times I squared. So of course we can't keep it like this because we have I squared. So I got to replace I squared with what's equal to. So it becomes 5i plus 35 times negative 1 now. So once again, I squared equals negative 1. So now 35 times negative 1 is negative 35. So I now would have 5i minus 35. Now this would not be my answer because I always want to write my real number in front and my imaginary number in the back. Math itself for school may still mark it wrong if you write it the wrong way. I just haven't tried typing it the other way. I was always typing the number first. So I want to flip this around to be negative 35. 5i is positive, so plus 5i. So this is my answer. And with these, you do want to do it by hand, mainly because if you try to put it in Desmos, it probably won't give you the answer. Matter of fact, let's try it. So it doesn't work with adding. May surprise me and work with multiplying. So 5i times 1 plus 7i. Nope, doesn't do it. So it doesn't hurt to try. Even if you change it to x, still won't give you the answer if this graph is for you. So you would basically have to do it every time by hand. Now, if we were in class and we had TI-84s, then of course there's a way to do it in TI-84, but there's no way for you to do it on Desmos. There might be a way. Just gotta look it up because I don't know any way to do it, but there is cheat codes for Desmos, so I'll try to look that up and see if I can find it. If not, then hey, it doesn't hurt to do it by hand. But if you happen to have a TI-84 at home, then you can definitely use it. The I is at the bottom. Those, just in case you do have one at home, I'll show you. I have mine up. So on your calculator, I is right here. So if you hit second I, it pops up. Now the thing about it is you definitely want to make sure it's in the right mode too when you type it in. So it has to be, you have to hit mode and change it from real mode to A plus BI mode. So if I keep it in real mode, so it may not do it. I can't remember if it's going to do it or not. Second I. Oh, shoot. One plus 7i. Oh, let's do it in real mode. So don't worry about changing it back and forth. So do it in real mode or A plus BI mode. So if you happen to have a TI-84 at home, then hey, definitely use this. All right, so you guys, let's go ahead and keep on to our next problem. Well, actually, I'm going to give you guys one to try. So one you're going to try is a whole lot like example 1. So remember our example 1, we just multiplied it. Of course, I got I squared. You have to convert it over. So this is your problem you're going to try. That's negative 2i times 6i. I'm going to go ahead and open the poll for you guys to put in your answers. So remember, when you're multiplying this, you got to multiply everything all together. So first you got negative 2 times 6, which of course is negative 12. And then it's I times I. So that is I squared. So some of y'all did pick negative 12i. Remember, it actually should be squared versus just a regular I. And we cannot keep it like this because remember, I squared is always equal to negative 1. So now we got to replace I squared. So it's actually negative 12 times negative 1. which negative 12 times negative 1 is actually a positive 12. So A was actually your answer. But somebody did pick C, so you weren't too far off. The only thing was it should be a positive versus a negative. So always remember when you have two i's, it becomes I squared. So you definitely want to rewrite that as negative 1 and then simplify it from there. So let's go ahead and look at when I multiply two binomials as well. So we're going to do some of these today, and tomorrow we're going to spend an extra day on multiplying just to make sure y'all got it. I was going to move on to evaluating piecewise. That's our next topic, but we'll say extra day on complex numbers. All right, so our very first one, we have 3 plus 8i times 4 minus 7i. So with these, there's two different ways you can do it. Just like if you had to multiply binomials, 3x plus 2 and 4x plus 2, you will still do these two ways as well. You can do full method or you can do box method. So that still works with these two. So I'm going to show you both ways before we go ahead and end for today. So the first one, this one right here, example 5, I'm going to do full method, because I know some of y'all prefer that way. So remember, full is first, outer, inner, glass. So first, we're doing 3 times 4, which is actually 12. Next, we're doing 3 times negative 7i, which is actually negative 21i. After that, you're going to do 8i times 4, which is positive 32i. And then lastly, I'm going to do 8i times negative 7i. So 8i times negative 7i is actually negative 56i squared. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite I squared. I know it's equal to negative 1. So that becomes negative 56 times negative 1. I drop down 12. And then now these two in the middle will combine. So negative 21 plus 32 actually gives me positive 11. So I have 12 plus 11i minus 56 times negative 1. So negative 56 times negative 1 is actually positive 56. Because a negative times a negative gives me a positive. So now I have 12 plus 11i plus 56. And the final step, because we're not done, all because I had I squared. So once it became 56, I now combine that with 12. So 12 plus 56 is actually 68. So 68 plus 11i is my answer. Right, so let's do one more. And like I said, this way I'm going to do box method versus full, like I did with this one. So this one I have negative 6 plus 3i times 8 plus 6i. So like I said, we'll do box method. So If you know a box method, you physically go ahead and just draw your box. So I'm going to put -6 and 3i on the top, and 8 and 6i on the side. So the first box, 8 times -6 is -48. Then we have 8 times 3i, which is 24i. Then we have 6i times -6, which is -36i. And then lastly, 6i times 3i is 18i squared. So now the first thing I want to do is rewrite this box right here because I have I squared. Oops. So I want to rewrite that as not 18i squared, but actually 18 times -1. Which 18 times -1 is -18. And so from there, combine like terms. So the first thing I want to do is definitely combine the numbers. So -48 and -18. If I add those together, I get -66. After that, I want to go ahead and combine my i's. So my i's happen here. So that would be 24i and -36i. So 24i minus 36i is actually -12i. And this is my answer. So all right, you guys, I'm going to end here for today. So, of course, we'll do some more of these tomorrow. Today is Wednesday, so you guys actually do have a quiz today. It is on Math Excel for school. It is the key features quiz number 2. So as long as you've been paying attention to the warm-ups that we've been doing all week and part of last week, then you'll be fine for your quiz. It opens today. It's actually open right now, and it'll close out, of course, on Friday. If you guys have any questions on anything, let me know. Other than that, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.